Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. I have some things that I'm excited to share with you today. And before I get into that, though, I want to let you know that there's a promo going on right now for those who are looking to have another session in the Akash with me. If you're interested in that, please check out the description. And yeah, let's get into it. So I went into the Akash and I called forward my advisors and I asked that they bring forward information that would help us understand the times, help us understand the energies we're all experiencing. And I know that you guys have been energetically through the ringer for the last few months. So have I. But I want to tell you what I've learned, and I want to tell you what's going to be born from those energies. I want to tell you what's going to be born from all that activity going on in the sky, which is the new normal, by the way. There's going to be a lot of things for us to observe that are celestial in their nature, and that they will come in all different ways, shapes, and forms, and that they are meant to induce us into certain states of being. So make sure that you're ready, make sure that you're compatible, make sure that you stay in alignment, and make sure that you stay curious about what's next, and you'll be fine. So I went into the Akash, called forward the advisors. Who came forward was one of my aspects that is a representative of the Galactic Federation of Light. And what was presented to me were 3 visuals. So I'm going to let you know what those are. And I will let you know before, when I go into the Akash, I sit there and I ground myself for at least 2 to 5 minutes before I ask for anything to come forward, before I ask for anybody to come forward, or before I make any kind of inquiry at all. So for this specific session in the Akash, I went in there and I started doing smelling exercises. And you do the things that you're familiar with. I know what a fresh pie smells like. I know what a mango smells like. I know what a summer breeze smells like. Go in there, open your senses, ground yourself, and allow things to come forward in a way that's easier for you to kind of hold on to. And I also want to say another thing. When you go into the Akash and you encounter the masters, the students, the teachers, the advisors, they're not expecting for you to grovel. They're not expecting you to, I'm not worthy, please help me, please save me. It's the opposite. They have the tendency to do that for you, and you may or may not be comfortable with that. They don't always do it. It's not like they're, worshiping you. But they see you as a very important teacher and collaborator within a very important aspect of creation where you're influencing bigger things outside of you. So I went into the Akash. The first visual came forward and it was the snapdragon. So the snapdragon is a very pretty flower and one that has an interesting smell. So you get the snapdragon and you ponder, what does this mean? And then you hold your space for the downloads for what it means to start to come through. And the snapdragon was shown to me as a way of conveying blossoming as a byproduct of resilience. So those of you who have been working all this time, wondering what it's for, wondering what's going to come from it, stay very, very curious about what version of you is going to arrive next. Maybe this is the timeline that you blossom. Maybe we're encountering the period where the hard work pays off and the resilience is providing for us what it was meant to. In the Akash, I also observed what was called, this is an avatar, I observed what was called the fearless paragon. So we see the fearless paragon. What can that relay to us as old souls navigating an experience in density? Well, when we saw the fearless paragon, it brought forward the idea of taking what we know, taking what we've learned, and bringing those things into the world, carrying those things into the world with us, and not letting the world take them away from us. Meaning that we stay true to what we feel is right, meaning that we're strong in our convictions and we don't bow down to the world around us just because it might be easier or more comfortable. Now is the time in this work of ours to be fearless. Now is the time to move forward with what we know, and to do so comfortably, and to not allow anything rooted in limitation to take that from us. In the Akash, I also observed the fractal crucible, which, crucible, a place where things come together and other things are born from. You, in this experience in the third dimension, have been going through or experiencing a little bit of an energy crucible, meaning that there's something emerging from these conditions that you're in here as a soul. There's something being born from the density and the limitation and the forgetfulness that you've endured for all of this time. Maybe now is the time where we reap what we've sown. Maybe now is the time where we open the oven and see what we've cooked. Keep in mind that you're working here, that you're creating something, and that you are strategizing the outcomes that you're aligning with. There are forces at play. There are things available to you here in the third dimension that can't be found in other places. So keep in mind that you might be a soul who's curious about what can be born, what version of me can emerge from experiencing certain kinds of dimensional energy and frequency. Okay. So a topic of discussion for the last few months has been all of the solar activity. And, we will let you know that that is the new normal, that there will be a lot of activity in the sky. And like we said, it will come in a lot of different shapes and forms. So something that the solar flares, and really this all started at the eclipse last month and, the weeks leading up into the eclipse last month. Old souls, light workers, and humanity collectively has been triggered into a state of being where their capacity for change has significantly increased. So you are going to be more capable of change than you've ever been before, more open and ready for it as well, and that you will approach that change in a fearless manner because of all the information that you've acquired about what it might be. The light workers and the old souls should be seeking change. You should be looking for change to serve as a catalyst for what's next. You should be looking for big change and excited about what that might mean for you rather than fearful. You should be looking for little changes that cascade into big ones and that create the opportunity for you to observe things about yourself that you might not have the opportunity to otherwise. So be ready for change, be ready for wild cards, be ready for alignments and personal experience and visuals in our sky to be the new normal and to propel us into a state of, wonderment about what this place really is. And you should also prepare for change, expected and unexpected, but change in general to fall into your lap, and it will tell your guides a lot about where you are and who you are, how you respond to that change. So speaking of activity in the sky, I know that a lot of you are seeing the cosmic family, and when you're observing paranormal experiences and that they're happening in an increased interval, you got to use tools of discernment. It doesn't do anybody any good to see things that are very much rooted in the third dimension and then subscribing to them something that is above that. But in general, we are getting a lot more reports of paranormal activity, both in the home, in our consciousness, and in the sky above us. And something that you should realize, that when you get the activity in your home, it's usually a family member or somebody who loves you or somebody who's looking after you or who has an interest or an investment in what's going on here. But typically, it's going to be you. If you see a ship in the night sky, it is likely your ship. If you see a fleet of ships, which we're getting more reports of that too, it might actually be your own fleet. When you go into the Akash and you encounter these cosmic groups, some of them will be your groups, some of them will be your organizations, some of them will be what you founded. Keep in mind that you are a master in this place that has chosen to forget that about themselves. And what you are experiencing in its nature is actually a mastery simulation. So you're actually seeing if you can overcome the density here. You're seeing if you can overcome forgetting everything about yourself and remembering and having all these profound things to wake up to. When you observe the paranormal experiences, know that it's probably you from a different perspective and point of view, observing what you're doing in the three, in this physical body that you've borrowed. So, a lot of you should look for paranormal experiences and things that are unusual, make all of this a lot more fun. Okay. So going back a little bit, speaking of the changes that are arriving, voluntary or involuntary, something that you'll want to avoid is timeline confusion. So you've been working this puzzle of consciousness since your awakening, and you've been doing so very diligently, and you've combed the field. You've collected all of the information that you can, and now this cosmic activity, these solar events come, and they wipe away anything that you might have held as an illusion. Timeline confusion happens when we reach a certain state of being, and then we have new information and data that changes that state of being, which might cause us to rewrite or rework our perspective on what this place is, what we're doing here. There might be a version of you that you thought was arriving that didn't. There might be a version of you that you thought was solidified that changes. Navigate the times ahead with an openness to change and the willingness to shift and adjust your perspectives and your beliefs based on new information arriving. So there will be a lot of that. And if you are in a position right now where you felt like you're not who you're supposed to be, or who you were meant to be, or you don't remember who you are, don't let that timeline confusion get the best of you. Let curiosity take over and take interest in what version of you can emerge with that potential. And I will say one last thing. It is time for the old souls to spend as much time as possible playing with and admiring and investigating the forces of nature that brought us to this point of being. When was the last time you sat under an old tree and asked it what it knows? When was the last time you pulled a rock from a stream and asked it what its story was, how it got there? You might go and pick up a stone from a stream and understand that its story unfolded in getting to this point over millions and millions of years. This is an aspect of creation that has an intimate understanding and experience with the forces of change that help create this place. And you can tap into those forces. When you sit under a tree and you're conscious enough to know that it is conscious, and you ask it, what do you know? What do you see? First thing that it will tell you is, I've been waiting for this for a long time. If you pick up a stone from the creek and you ask it, do you have anything to share? First thing that it will say to you is, I've been waiting for this moment for millions of years. Anyway, some things to think about. Utilize all the resources at your disposal. Some of your teachers do not have lips and a voice, and that they never have, but they've been here much longer than consciousness. Thank you very much for listening. I will see you soon. Goodbye.